everybody. Welcome to another edition of Discover the Paranormal with All Out Paranormal. I am your host, Kandi, and I'm going to be flying solo tonight because Rex, our fearless leader, is at the Haunting at the Mill Paracon with none other than Brandon the Shaman Cooper of Shaman Sundays live right here on the Sky Door Network. And if all goes well, they're going to be coming to you live on Saturday. So why don't you hit the heart button and send them some love right now? How's everybody doing? We just had spring, the equinox just happened. So I don't know about everybody, but I am so over winter. I'm ready for the sunshine. So tonight we've got a couple special surprises, but before we start, we just recently had an investigation at the Franklin Hotel in Strawberry Point, Iowa. The Franklin Hotel is one of the 10 most haunted locations in the state. And Room 7, they call it the notorious Room 7, belonged to a prostitute named Lily. Now, Lily actually died in Room 7. So we decided when we went there, in this room, we put Rex and one of our friends, Carrie, that joined us that evening, in the Gansfeld experiment. Now, what that is, we put blindfolds over the eyes that takes away your sense of sight, and they have noise-canceling headphones playing basically like a spirit box in their ears. And if Dave will play it for us, we got a little clip of interaction of what happened in this Room 7.
Do you want her? Yes, yes, yes.
What do you want? I so want to go TikTok live right
Rex,
now.
do it.
You want me to go TikTok live? What do you want him to do? What do you want her to do? What do you want her to do?
Look cute.
You want her to look cute? Get under it, Carrie.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's so loud.
Oh.
Okay, in the meantime, while we are trying to get Kandi back for you guys, just wanted to let you know that the video that we're going to be showing is an interview that Catherine, I'm probably going to butcher the last name, Cirillos and Tony Spira, Ed and Lorraine Warren's son-in-law, about the paranormal, and he was also the creator of 28 Days Haunted on Netflix. So we will get that rolling in the meantime, and as soon as we get Kandi saddled back in here, I will buzz out and bring her back in.
We may have some freeze points. You may freeze up at some point, because you're so far away. But we can just, if it looks like it froze and you can't hear me or something, we'll just say it over again,
Okay. How's the
Okay.
weather?
The weather is nice today. It was about, well, I don't know what Celsius, but it's about 40. Right now it's 28 degrees, but yesterday it was like 45 Fahrenheit. So that's not so bad.
Whenever you see photos of Connecticut, it's got that beautiful autumn look.
It does. It's got a lot of trees. We have a lot of trees. The problem is we don't have a lot of lemon trees like you guys, or olive trees like you guys do. So, I wish we did, but we don't. So
True. We actually got I'll take a photo of a big lemon tree in my backyard where it's all seasons. Like even now, it's snowing outside and like there's lemons, tiny, like big lemons just hanging. And I'm like to my husband, you got to cut them down. You got to cut them down.
Well, I mean, I'd like to go to Greece someday. I'd like to go to Italy too, because I'm Italian. And my wife and I would like to go. But, when I did my last family tree DNA test, I was mostly Italian, but I think I had 7% Greek in me or something. I had a little bit of Greek in me, 7%, but mostly Italian. I was like 79% Italian. So, hey,
Well, they do say una razza, una faccia.
With what?
Same face. That's in Italian. Una razza, una faccia is same face, same.
There you go. Yeah, that's good. So with my crew that I have, they're very good guys, my team, and they don't ask for anything. They don't, we joke around about things, but we're all have the same goal in mind.
Exactly.
That's to learn about the paranormal, and that's to help people that are afflicted by evil forces. Believe me when I tell you there are a lot of evil forces out there besides people, but I think the evil forces influence a lot of human activity, like the people who want to bring you down. I think they're influenced by demonic and they don't even know it. I don't know for sure, but a lot of them, I think, by dabbling in the occult practices, by dabbling in the paranormal, but not really knowing what they're doing.
Exactly.
It kind of, it's like a smell that they can't get rid of. It's like something that attaches themselves to them, but they don't even know it. They don't, like somebody who has body odor, they don't even smell it on themselves. So they don't even know they're afflicted. Other people can see it, but they just think they're fine. They think they're perfect, but they're not. So our goal is to just, even if we have to help one person at a time,
True.
And what helps people the most is listening to them and having an act of kindness. Some people just want to have an ear that they can express their problems to, and just by talking about their problems, sometimes it helps them. People who think they may have an affliction of a demonic entity, but it's not. It's something else. It's into their personal lives. Maybe they've had a lot of trauma in their growing up, or abuse, or whatever it may be. And just by talking about it and getting a kind word back from us, helps.
It does.
Anytime we can help anybody, we try. We don't charge anything for it. So.
Yep. Yeah, you're supposed to. When it comes to
when you charge,
not just you, even me. Like even if I go and cleanse a house, I'm going in there because you need it. You need help, and I will sit there with you, and we'll go through it together.
When you charge somebody for that, it takes away a lot of credibility. Like Ed Warren used to say to me and Lorraine, like, either you help people or you don't help them. You don't ask for it. A lot of these people, I would say, they have no money anyway. Why would you try to take money from them? And Lorraine, a lot of times when we'd be at a lecture, Lorraine would be doing a Q&A after. almost always, someone would come up to Lorraine and say, Mrs. Warren, can you give me a reading? I'll give you like $100 or 200 to go in the other room, and can you read me for 20 minutes? And she'd say, I don't do that. She goes, I don't read for money. She goes, that's not what I do. She goes, if I realize there's something that you need to know, I'm going to tell you, or something about you, I'm going to tell you. She goes, it just takes away all your credibility, because are they doing it because, first of all, are they psychically, or are they just making stuff up to make money? And a lot of these psychics, a lot of them are doing it just to make money, and a lot of them aren't even psychic. There's a lot of non-psychics out there. I won't name any names, but I'd say we have psychic ability. Probably 5% really do. The others are have a thought, and then they tell you that that's true. It's thought of you, because a lot of times when you talk to these psychics, they tell you the same thing. I've had people say to me like, "Oh, I know, so I got to tell you, I'm psychic. I tell you, they tell me something, and it was never true. It never happened. It never did happen after they told me. So it's like they think they know what they're talking about, but they don't. Psychic ability is not as common as people think it is. That kind of psychic ability, big time psychic ability. Everybody has a little bit of psychic awareness or empath or empathy. A little training, and you don't develop it over years and years of education and spirit, more and more attuned to it than when she was 9 years old. When she got older, of course, she was more attuned, because that was what she did. So these young people, and every time I go to a place, every time I go to a convention, or like the convention we had, invariably, I think I had maybe 100 people tell me they were empathic. But were they or not? I mean, I could say I'm empathic, and maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But when you charge, it's okay to say it. But when you start giving people false information and charging for it, that's totally wrong. That's what taints this business, the paranormal realm.
True. That's very true. That's very true. Do you want me to now? I'm recording this. Do you want me to?
You can use any snippets you want.
Okay, good.
You want to use. It's okay. Whatever I say is fair game.
Good. Fair enough.
But like people.
Tell me how you started in all this. What got you into all this?
What got me into it was when I met Judy. Because I don't know if you know the whole story, but I was a police officer back in 1979. So I'm a little older than you may think I am. But 1979, I was a police officer, and I was sitting in my car, my cruiser, my police car, and this beautiful young lady drove by. And she smiled at me and waved. And as a young police officer, single, I said, wow, who is this beautiful young lady? So I pulled out behind her and followed her in my police cruiser. And about not even a mile up the road, she pulled into this parking area where it's like, we call it a strip mall, where you have all these different small little businesses. There's a store. Pull up right at the door of the dress shop, and I said, well, I guess that's the end of that. I'm not going to be able to meet her. For some reason, she came to the door, because she must have saw the cruiser outside, a little nervous, So she comes to the door, and she looks at me, and I waved at her from the cruiser, and she waved back. We walk into this restaurant. She's there with Al, and I was, Tony, this is Judy. Judy, this is Tony. And I go, hey, how are you? And she says, good, how are you? For some reason, I said, where do you work or something? She goes, well, I work at the dress store. That's what she worked at, that dress store. And then I said, well, maybe I'll come by and see you sometime. I don't know how it happened, but I saw her that night for like an hour after I got off work. And ever since that night, I started going out with her. Like I went out with her like 5 days in a row or something like that. But then after about 3 weeks, or a month. She says, now I know her pretty well. I've been taking her out to dinner and everything. She says, you want to go see my parents lecture at University of Connecticut? So I looked at her. I said, oh, your parents lecture at UConn? I said, what are they, teachers, professors, or what? She started laughing. She goes, no, they're not professors. She said, they're ghost hunters. I said, what do you mean they're ghost hunters? She goes, oh, they're Warrens. So I said, no, sir, because I kind of heard the name Warrens before, but I wasn't sure what they did. Like, you hear it in passing. So she goes, yeah, they're ghost hunters. They're psychic researchers, and they hunt ghosts and stuff. I go, you're kidding me. She goes, you want to go see him? I go, yeah. So, it was October. So she said, okay. So we went that night to the Jorgensen Auditorium at the University of Connecticut. And we went into the green room and met Ed and Lorraine. That's the first time I met him. It was October 1979. And Ed was sitting there like in a vested suit, and he's looking through these little slides, holding them up to the light. Lorraine's sitting in her chair all decked out with her kilt and everything. She had a kilt on, sipping on tea. So she goes, hi, hon, how are you? Like she knew me. And Ed was like, hey, kid, how are you? And so then the show was going to start like in 10 minutes. So we went out in the audience, we watched the show. And then right after the show, Judy said, okay, let's go see him back in the green room again, in the dressing room. So we went back there, and Ed always wanted to eat somewhere. He said, let's go get a pizza somewhere. Now, where UConn is, it's very, very desolate. There's hardly a restaurant. Ed found a pizza restaurant. And we went there, and we met him there. And I was right there. I was like, Ed, tell me more about these ghosts. Because I was intrigued at this lecture. There's stuff I never heard before, talking about devils and demons and stuff, and showing psychic photographs of ghosts. So that's where I got my first exposure to Ed and Lorraine. And like not even a week later, she's like, you want to go over to my folks' house for a turkey dinner? I'm like, sure, yeah, let's go. Because I want to talk to Ed more about paranormal. That's how it all began. Talking to Ed is like, me and you talking now, like no problem. And Ed would just go into stories. He would immediately start, well, when I went to this house and this happened, and he'd start. And then I would question, what do you mean? What happened then? Oh, yeah, it was horrible. Then he starts to tell me. And I'd start to learn more and more about the paranormal. And I think maybe after the second or third visit, he brought me down to the museum and showed me the artifacts. He was a wise guy, Ed. We're in the museum. He's all the way prior to us going into the museum. He's like, you can't touch anything in there. It's the opposite of holy. It's the opposite of blessed. It's very dangerous in there. Don't touch anything. It's, this is the most haunted place in the world. He's giving me his whole spiel. So then I was scared when I go in there. I'm like, my shoulders are like this. I'm afraid of touching it. But he's a wise guy. He's in there. We're in there for like 2 minutes. He goes, oh, I got to go make a phone call. Stay right here. I'll be back. I go, where you going, Ed? Where you going? He goes, I got to go make a phone call. I'll be back in like 20 minutes. And he starts laughing. He goes, no, I'm not going there. He starts to scare you. So that's how he was. He was that kind of guy. But he was serious about it. When he said to me that these artifacts are haunted, taken from haunted locations, they're the opposite of holy and blessed. He would call me unblessed, the unholy. He said it's the opposite of going into a church or a chapel. And he was right, because you could feel the vibe in there. And he said, I've been doing this for many, many years. He goes, and I don't stay here very long at night. So I said, why, Ed? Why at night you don't stay here? He goes, the dark hours of the night are the hours where the vibrations build up and spirits will appear easier. He goes, they don't like to appear in God's light. He said, but at nighttime, it's a closed location, and all these objects are haunted, and they feed off each other. He said, at nighttime, it can get very scary. He goes, I've been in here at night, and stuff had fallen off the walls, stuff had knocked on its own, stuff would knock over. He goes, it's not really cool to stay in here very long. And that scared me even more. And that's when I saw the Annabelle doll. Because he got the Annabelle doll in like 1970 or 71. And this was 1979 when I met them. And the doll at that time then was in a case, a glass case. So that was my first exposure to Ed and Lorraine, and I got very intrigued at all the stories he and Lorraine would tell me. Because when they told me a story, it wasn't like a flippant story. They wouldn't joke about it. They wouldn't be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we saw." They would be like serious when they were saying it. They were like, he was very stern about it. He goes, "Yeah," he goes, "these people are terrified." He goes, this family of like 3 kids and a mother and father, they wouldn't even sleep in separate rooms because they would all huddle together in one room. And when he's talking, I believe every word he's saying. He's not like making a story up. It's real. They're so scared they won't go to the bathroom alone. They have people standing outside the bathroom. Because that's how frightened these people are. He said, I said, no, I asked again, how did you get into this? And he told me he lived in a haunted house in Bridgeport, Connecticut from age 5 to age 12. And he told me that things would happen in that house that scared him to death, him and his twin sister, Babe. He said, I'd come
Hey,
home
Carrie.
from
Hey,
school when I was
Stacy.
like 6 years old, 7 years old. It'd be cold outside, freezing cold outside. He goes, and I'd come home and I didn't see any lights on in the house or anything. Because I wouldn't go in that house until lights went on. I go, what do you mean, Ed? He goes, sometime it'd be like February. I'd come home from school. It's dark early in the afternoon. He's like, well, I look up. I'd go hide under the vegetable carts that the old Italians used to leave on the streets, and they cover them with tarps in the wintertime.
Mhm.
Vegetables, and when they weren't in use, they'd cover them with tarps. He goes, I'd hide under those vegetable carts and peek out and wait until I saw a light go on because I'd be freezing cold. And then I'd go upstairs because I didn't want to go in alone. I said, you're making this up. He goes, no, I'm not making it up. He says, real. He goes, that house is scary. The things that happened. He saw an old lady one time in a closet peeking out at him. And, it'd be one thing if it was just him, but his twin sister saw the same things. She was just as frightened. And one time his father, who was a state trooper at the time, and there was about 7 or 8, he said, Ed, the stuff that's happening in this house, there's a logical reason, Then Ed would say to me, he goes, but my father never gave me the logical reason. He would just say, there's a logical reason for all this stuff. So the father knew stuff was happening in the house also, but didn't want to talk too much about it. Because, as a police officer, like macho, no, this stuff, don't worry about it. It's no problem. But Ed said to me that paranoid. He said when he was 16 years old, he met Lorraine. And at his 17th birthday, he joined the U.S. Navy. He said to Lorraine, I'm going to the Navy for the war. He goes, but when I get home, I'm going to go places and find out if other people have had haunting experiences like I had in that house in Bridgeport. Lorraine was 17 or turning 17 at the time. She said, you guys are all reading the same books. There's no such thing as ghosts. That's what Lorraine said.
Wow.
But even though Lorraine was psychic, she didn't really talk about or believe in ghosts in her Irish family, who were very stern when it came to talking about spirits or devils. They didn't talk about that stuff. So she was like, and she never encountered a ghost. So she's like, oh, you guys are all reading the same books. And Ed said to her, Lorraine, you're saying that because you didn't experience and live in a house that I did for those years when I was growing up. He goes, there are such things as ghosts. And so when he got out of the Navy, he was like 20 years old. That's what he started to do. First thing he started to do was paint. He went to art school for 2 years in New Haven, Connecticut. And he painted like a lot of New England scenes. And then he painted some haunted houses too at that time. And then one day he came home and he's about 22 years old. He says to Lorraine, oh, I quit art school. She goes, Ed, what are you talking about? You love art. He says to her, he says, because he's cocky, he says, I can paint better than the instructors. Then he says, I can make a lot of money. We're going to make a lot of money, Lorraine. She goes, what do you mean? He goes, I'm going to make paintings, and we're going to drive up to tourist areas, and we're going to sell paintings on the side of the road. And that's what he did. Because when Ed said he would do something, he went and did it. He used to take these little pieces of wood. He called them, sometimes he started out with barn wood, and he would paint with acrylic paint on these pieces of barnwood, like a New England scene or a haunted location or a covered bridge in New England. And then they're this big. There's like 5x7 or 8. Or you take porcelain plates that they gave away free at the movie theaters back then, and he would paint on those. And they'd drive up. What he did is he went and bought a 1933 Chevy that he couldn't afford for $15, he told me. I said, Ed, what do you mean you can't afford it? He says, $15. I had to pay it off on time for over 3 months, $5 a month. I go, come on. He goes, I'm telling you, $5 a month. He's like, all I want. He was the guy was nice enough to throw in a couple extra wheels and a new transmission. He drove that with Lorraine up to New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine. After making these paintings, he'd drive up, he'd park on the side of the road, set up an easel with these little things on them, and he'd sit there and sell them. I said, how'd you make out? And you remember as an adult, and he was an adult. He goes, I made out very well back then. He goes, I used to make a lot of money. And I was intrigued now that he made a lot of money. I said, well, yeah, what did you make on a painting? He goes, well, sometimes, I make $4 or $5. I start laughing. I said, Ed, I thought you said you made a lot of money making, $4 or $5 is a lot of money back in like 52, 55. He said, Lorraine and I used to stay up in a log cabin like overnight for $1. We'd have a hot dog for 10 cents. We'd have gasoline would cost 28 cents a gallon. He goes, so if I sold 5 paintings, made $25, I had a lot of money. And I said, I agree, Ed, you're right. He goes, things were different back then. That's how he started. And then he used to read Fate magazine, which I think might still be in publication. If not, you could look it up on eBay. Fate magazine, it's about 5 inches tall by about 4 inches wide, a little booklet. And inside that Fate magazine were a lot of mysterious stories, haunted location stories, ghost stories, haunted house stories. And Ed would open up the book and read, because he was intrigued by all this haunted stuff. And he'd read it, and he'd say to Lorraine, we're going to go up to this house in New Hampshire or wherever, and we're going to find out if these people have the same experience as me. And he would do that. One of the places he drove up to was called the Ocean-Born Mary House in Henniker, New Hampshire. That's famous, Ocean-Born Mary. And they called her that because there was a pirate ship back in, I don't know, the pirates on board the ship was pregnant. And he said, you know something? You're pregnant. He goes, I'm going to tell you something. If that child is born, if it's a girl, and you name her Mary after my mother, I'll spare everyone on the ship. And that's what happened. She had a baby and she named it Mary, Ocean-Born Mary. And so that house in New Hampshire, who was frequented by Ocean-Born Mary, who lived there, and they say her ghost is seen there many times. That's the first place that Lorraine, when she went up with Ed at like 22 years old, 23, had a psychic experience. Now, she was psychic. She used to see the aura around people when she was even 9 years old, but she never used it. She went into this house. She knocked on the door of Ocean-Born Mary, and this gentleman, Mr. Roy, answered the door. He was a caretaker. There was no electricity in the house, no heat. He had a wood stove he used to sit by, but he lived there. And Ed was able to get in with Lorraine and started to talk to Mr. Roy about all the experiences that happened in the house and about Ocean-Born Mary House. And as Ed is talking to Mr. Roy, Lorraine is sitting in a chair behind Ed with her elbows on the chair, listening to Ed talk to Mr. Roy. Suddenly, this is what Lorraine told me, suddenly she felt like a jolt to her body. And it's like someone took behind her shoulder blades and went like that. And her spirit left her body. And she was now out of her body, floating around the foyer area of this house. And then she rises up and she could look down and see Mr. Roy and Ed talking, and herself. sitting
But
there.
she was astral traveling.
She
She
had
astral traveled.
she had out of body experience, and she said, "That's the first time I knew that you don't have to worry dying because your spirit is separate from your body." And she could see me because, and what happened when that did occur? Ed was talking to Mr. Roy, and at one point, while she was out of her body, Ed turned around and said, "Isn't that right, Lorraine?" And Lorraine didn't respond. She's like a glaze on her eyes. And Ed got nervous. Hey, Lorraine, I'm talking to you. And she wouldn't answer because she was staring straight ahead. Ed turns around. Remember, he's a young man. Turns around to Mr. Roy. Says, "What's wrong with my wife? She's not answering me. She's not. What's happening here?" You know, Mr. Roy said, "Oh, don't worry about it. That happens to psychics and clairvoyants a lot in this house."
Wow.
Ed says to Mr. Roy, "What are you talking about? She's no clairvoyant. She's my wife." He didn't know she was clairvoyant.
No, yeah.
And what made Ed believe, not that incident, what made Ed believe she was clairvoyant was then they started going on these other same kind of things we'd find about a haunted house. Then people started to realize that Ed knew what he was talking about. And later on, and maybe a few years later, I don't remember exactly, they're in a house that's haunted. And the woman in the house and Ed brought a psychic of his own in. He knew about psychics by then. He brings this woman in because he's not believing anything about Lorraine being psychic.
Mm-hmm.
He's walking around the house, and the woman is walking with the psychic and Ed and Lorraine. And the psychic is it pulls Ed aside and says, and the woman, and says, "This is what's happening. I sense this is happening in the house. Such and such is happening." And it's, "Oh, okay." They walk away. Lorraine pulls Ed aside and says, "Ed, what she's telling you is not true. This is what's really happening." And she tells Ed. You know, Ed says to her, "Hey, Lorraine, what are you talking about? She's a psychic. You're not."
Oh, wow.
The woman, the homeowner, says to Ed, because she's listened to her, she goes, "Ed, I got to tell you something. What your wife is saying is true, is correct. That psychic is incorrect. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Lorraine is right on." From that moment on, Ed knew Lorraine did have true clairvoyant psychic ability, you know. So it took him a while to realize that his own wife had that clairvoyance, which was a fantastic thing to have in an investigatory team. You have a guy who studies devils and demons, a demonologist.
Yep.
Then you have a woman who's psychic and clairvoyant who can tell you if there's a spirit in the house and what kind it is. Because Ed would always turn to Lorraine and go, "Do you feel anything, Lorraine?" And she'd say, "Yeah, there's a dark energy here. There's a dark spirit here. It's not human." She would say and confirm to Ed what's going on in the house. It's great. You know, if I go in the house with my team, I have to determine on my own by thing that's happening and make an educated guess if it's, inhuman or human or what it is, you know. You can tell by what's happening in the house. Like if you go into a house and the refrigerator is toppling over and people are levitating off their beds and they're being scratched and pushed around, it's not a human entity.
Exactly.
He doesn't have that kind of energy, but
Yeah.
demonic does. So I would make an educated guess. Ed wouldn't even have to do that. Just turn to Lorraine and say, "Lorraine, what do you feel here?" And she'd do a walk through the house and then tell him, her assessment of the house. And so that's how I got involved, because I would keep bugging Ed. "Ed, can I go on a case with you?" "No, you're not ready, kid." That's what he called me, kid. "You're not ready yet." "Okay, Ed. Well, you can help me in my lectures if you want and run the slide projector, and you could set up the PA system." "Okay." And you break it down after we're done. There's a wise guy. "Okay, Ed." And I would. I went on to lectures with them, a lot of lectures, hundreds of lectures, and I would run a projector. I would listen to his lecture. But where I would pick up more information was a Q&A. When people would ask these off-the-wall questions about psychics, about ghosts, about haunting phenomena, about devils, and Ed would be able to answer them. He'd tell me, no, this is what's happening. A human spirit, he'd go into it, a human spirit could do this. And I would pick up by those answers and learn and glean information from the answers that he gave. And then finally he said, you want to come to investigation with me? Come on. And we did. And, we went over to England, went over to Scotland too.
Mhm.
And, we had things happen there. Scotland's haunted and England is haunted pretty good.
Yeah.
Greece is old. So I don't know particulars about places in Greece like you do, but I can tell you this, something that old, a civilization that old, with those kind of old structures that you have, ancient structures, you have haunting phenomena in these places,
Yes.
for sure.
Oh, yeah.
What I need to say is to the Greek people is, if you believe in God, and most
Hi, Kim.
you have
Yep.
to believe in devils and demons.
Oh, yeah, we do.
God created angels, created us, and through default, he created devils. When they disagreed with him and they fell from his grace, they became devils. They became little pesky little animals, so little spirits. So he didn't set out to create devils, but he allowed them to exist because God doesn't like to destroy things that he created like human beings do. He doesn't destroy spirits. And how bad they are, he doesn't destroy them. He has places he might bring them or take them or let them go to. But that's one thing you got to remember, that you can never kill a spirit, no matter what it is, a devil, a demon, an angel, a human. You can't kill the spirit. You can kill the person, but you can't kill the spirit. You can never kill an angelic spirit. You can't kill a demonic spirit either. You can send it away, but you can't. You can send it away, but you can't kill it.
No, because energy never dies.
Never. You're right. Never dies.
Exactly.
So, any other questions you want to ask me?
Okay, tell me a little bit about NESPA. What does it represent? What it's all about? What do you guys do now that you've got your own team and going out to investigations?
New England Society for Psychic Research. That's what it means. NESPR, NESPR, New England Society for Psychic Research. We kept the name because that's the name Ed gave it in 1952. Ed gave that society that name because they were investigating stuff back then. They were going to places back then. And Ed said to Lorraine one day, they were in the living room, and he had all these photos and documents and typewritten stuff that he did lying on the floor. He said, Lorraine, we got to do something. He goes, these photos and all this, we got to start organizing what we're doing here. He goes, we got too much stuff going on. He goes, why don't we start a society of research? And then he came up with the name, New England Society for Psychic Research, and he kept it in force. So we kept it going after Ed passed and Lorraine passed too. After she passed, but I had the society after Ed passed. We got a small team of dedicated people who go out on cases and try to help people and try to educate people. It's not just helping, it's also educating. First thing we tell people when they say they have a haunted house, what the first thing we normally do when they contact us, I think my house is haunted. And I'll say, why do you think that? They'll say, well, I see stuff out of the corner of my eye and I hear noises. And I thought I heard my name called a couple of times. First thing I'll do is contact the priest, have him bless the house and bless you and everybody in the house, inside the house, outside the house property, and everybody who's in the house. Maybe that'll do it. And you should pray to God. So you start out with the simple blessings, because a lot of times people, they don't think about God. Even the house is haunted. They don't think about God. They don't think about praying. They don't think about how this all started. And a lot of times it starts because you're allowing it to start by your actions, by your non-belief or your non-thoughtfulness in the Lord, by the things you do, by your selfishness, by your ego, your egotisticalness, your jealousies, your envies, your cruelty to anything, cruelty to a person, an old person, an animal, or not being kind, disregard for for nature, for animals. All that stuff together over the years draws evil entities to you because, well, I can get to this person because this person is weak-willed. This person doesn't care about God, doesn't even pray for protection from God. So I'm going to bother this guy and get him to never go to heaven. See, that's, to me, that's what the demonic wants to do, keep you out of heaven, because they can never go there. Never. You can.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're a bad person, you could change your ways and become worthy of going there to heaven. But so people will unknowingly attract it, or they'll dabble in occult practices, which is the worst. They'll either dabble in witchcraft, they'll dabble in black magic, they'll dabble in satanic rituals,
Yep.
things like that. Even if they think it's joking around, they're still doing the opposite of what God wants them to do. Like they say, well, I belong to a satanic club, but we don't do anything bad. Well, first of all, they do. Satanists will lie through their teeth about what they really do. You know, you hear these people say, oh, we just want to enrich our lives. We just want to have things for ourselves. We want to, have money. We want to have material objects. That's all. We don't want to hurt anybody. We just want things. But that's not really what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they want it, but that's not what they do to want. They don't just wish it. They don't say, well, we want material things and just wish it to happen. They give them these and for and how do they sell their soul? One way is saying that, okay, I'll give you my soul, Satan. Yeah, the Satan wants more than that. If he's going to give you anything, you have to do more things for him to satisfy him. So they think in their mind, the Satanists think in their mind that, what can I do to make Satan happy? Oh, kill a human being. If I kill an animal, that's God's creation. A human being is God's creation. Okay, if I kill an animal, he'll like that. If I kill a human, he'll like it more. If I kill an infant, he'll like it even more because it's very innocent and it's a bad thing to do. So if I do that, Satan will love me more for it, and Satan will give me what I ask him for. So if you want something in return. So they go out and they do these rituals. They kill animals. They impregnate members of their society, of their Satanistic cult, so they could, on purpose, they said they impregnate the women. The specific cause of harvesting the infant. In other words, having the infant born and killing it by ritual stabbings, very cruel ways, because they figure torture, anything that's really a mockery to God, a mockery to what God believes and God wants, make Satan happier. So that's why they rape. That's why because that's an insult to the creation that God made, the way God made people recreate or procreate. And those things, and they drink the blood of the infant, they strip off the flesh of the infant, and they eat the flesh, thinking the whole time that they're going to gain more power through Satan's eyes. So when they tell you that, oh, we don't do anything bad, they're never going to admit they kill people, because that's murder, right? And they get arrested. They're never going to commit, they don't want you to think bad of them. They want to keep doing what they're doing. They don't want you to lock them up. So they want to just say, oh no, we just want good things in life. Well, who doesn't? But that's not how you get it. That's not how you get it.
Exactly.
So Ed used to investigate all these things in Lorraine, and it's terrible that people, even today, Ed used to say to me, almost every community that you go to, there's somebody who worships the devil and little cults around.
Oh, yeah.
They're very secretive. They're very secretive about doing it. I don't know how it is in Greece. Hope it's not that way, but In
No,
America,
no,
Ed told me that
no.
there are Satanists in almost every community.
Hmm. We do have like when we go to investigations at a like asylums or sanitariums like that, you do find occult stuff on the floor, because if you go to hospitals, abandoned hospitals, asylums, all the energy,
Yep.
the residual energy is already there. So doing rituals like that, you're bringing all the energy in, so you're enhancing it, and that's what they do.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. Absolutely. And one thing I do believe in wholeheartedly is when I said earlier about positivity begets positivity. When you do something good for someone, it goes out into the universe, right? That vibe, that frequency of goodness goes out to the universe. When you do something bad, cruel, inhuman to somebody or to something, or think thoughts that way, that goes out into the universe as a bad vibe. And it's almost like a ricochet or a boomerang effect.
Mhm.
It comes back, right?
Exactly.
So if you do positive things, it comes back positive to you. You do negative things, it comes back negative. Nobody gets away with bad stuff forever. And if you think they do, they don't. It may be like, even if this lifetime, you say, how come this guy's such a jerk? Why is this guy so cruel to everybody? But he's got all this money, and he's got this boat and a yacht, and he's got a castle, and he's got a big house. Yeah, that's in this life, though. He'll be nothing in the other life. You may not even see him, because he won't be where you are. He won't be in heaven, you know. So it's what you do. You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. It's a law of cause and effect. You know, like attracts like in the spirit realm. So if, that's why you intrinsically know, you, me, what good is, what good people are. You can feel the vibe of someone who's not good. You can,
Mhm.
you can see through them. In other words, see through the person.
Exactly.
Notice you also now, when you hone in, you're attracting good people, and you're discarding the negative people. Right? Think about your life, how you attracted these people, came running towards you. They were negative, and you,
Yep.
being a nice person, were trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. But overall, you knew sooner. It didn't take too long before you knew what was really bad. That wasn't for you, right?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
it's just like me and my team. I know I got a good team. I know these people are good, and they're out to help other people, not just themselves. Uh, they don't care about money, helping other people when they help people. But we never charge, not one time did we ever charge for, or even expenses for going somewhere. If we thought that people really need, we try to help on the phone, we try to help on email. But if we
Yep.
have to go out in person, we go out in person. I mean, you can't help everybody all at once because you're only a few people. But you try to do your best to spread the word and how to counteract negative forces, you know, how to counteract demonic forces.
True. Now tell me, 28 Days Haunted. Is there going to be a season 2?
Well, I don't know. I've been wondering that myself. I think there might be a season 2. Season 1 was good, but it was like a shakedown, like going on a shakedown cruise where you're trying to work out the bugs. My thought is that it was a little complicated because there was 3 locations at once. That's a lot of stuff to monitor. So I'm thinking one place, 28 days, and maybe a place that looks bad, that looks like like an insane asylum, like
Yep.
a really creepy looking place that you wouldn't want to spend 1 day, 1 hour at. They have to spend 28 days. And see, a lot of negativity would be at those places too, because like you say, these groups go in there and they perform rituals, and
Yep.
that it lingers. You're drawing these negative energies to the place. So maybe if we had a place like an insane asylum or an abandoned sane place or whatever it was, that would be a good place to have the show. I'm not sure. I haven't got some producers yet that if we're having a season 2, but it's 50-50 right now. We don't know for sure. It might be, might not. But we had a good following. We had a lot of people follow. I don't know if did you see any of the show?
You did, like, especially here in Greece, everybody was just like, it was #1 on Netflix in the whole of Europe.
Really? What?
Weeks and weeks, non-stop.
I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Oh,
It was #1.
yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as it came out, Tony, I was like, oh, I got to watch that. And everybody was just talking about it.
Let's put it this way. If there is a season 2, I believe it'll be way more scary, way more intriguing, and way more educational. Way more.
Mhm.
And the first one spoke and explained things for like 20 hours on tape. I mean, a lot of explanation. They cut a lot of it, almost all of it out. I don't know why they did that. They cut it out. The producers and the editors cut it down. I was explaining step by step why, like Jeremy did why he was invoking what he did, why the coffin thing, why the headphones, what it actually does, and was it right that they did it at that time? Should they have waited? I explained all of this for hours and hours. I did all these explanations. They cut it out. So I said to them, I said, you should have more of me explaining,
Exactly,
educating people so they know why it's happening and what you do in that situation, why you do that in situation, and what the outcome might be if you don't do it. I said, you have to, it's an educational show besides being entertainment. And they kind of agreed with that. So who knows? If it's season 2, I think it'll be wild. It'll be a lot different. It'll be scary. It'll be scary.
You're right, Dave. Season 2, Edinburgh,
what
Maine.
you just said now, but explaining, see, me as a paranormal investigator and as a psychic medium, I know what you did, right? But somebody that's just doesn't know about this, doesn't know why it would happen like that. Why did you do it like that? Why was it set like that? What was the purpose? So it's good, like even a little documentary of explaining all that.
Mm-hmm.
You should do something like that.
Yeah, that's the key, because when people know why it's done that way, they won't say, "Oh, that the guy's stupid." Or, why the guy's a jerk calling out this or saying that? Why do you do that? We explain why, and you either agree with it or you don't agree with it. But that's how happens, So, and people will learn this. So if they go out on an investigation, if they're part of a club or a team, they'll start to realize, oh, this is why I should do this, and I shouldn't do this, but I should do that. Also, besides 28 Days Haunted, The Nun 2 is completed filming. The Nun, The Conjuring.
Yes.
The Nun has been completed filming in France. They filmed in France, and they're in the process now of finishing up the script for The Conjuring 4. So The Conjuring 4 is going to be made. Same actors, Vera and Patrick. Vera Farmiga, Patrick Wilson playing Ed and Lorraine.
Yep.
The thing that hurts me is that Ed never got to see the movies. Lorraine saw 2 of them. She saw 1 and 2. Ed never saw any of them. He would have been so beyond him. He would have been beside himself watching Patrick playing him on the screen. And they picked a good 2 actors because Vera and Patrick came together, both of them, to the house, to Lorraine's house, and talked to Lorraine to get a feel of her
energy. Yep.
And they went to the museum. They looked into the museum. They walked around the museum, and got a feel for everything and why. And they were intrigued by Lorraine. They loved Lorraine. And Vera said just to be in her presence, her beautiful essence, she said, essence, and her energy, which is true. Anybody who sat and talked with Lorraine.
You're right, Kathy. I bet he is looking down, watching.
Somebody different than normal than us. She had this special quality of genuineness. I guess you'd call it genuineness and caring about other people, no matter who you were. You could, me and Ed used to go to lectures with Lorraine, and after the lecture, we give the Q&A for 45 minutes, and then we walking out, and people were lingering. Can I ask you one more question, Mr. Warren? This is where Ed would say to me, let's get out of here. Let's go get a hamburger. Yeah, I'm tired. And Lorraine would stop, turn around, talk to the person, and we're in the car. We're in the car like, where is she? And he'd say, Tony, you better go grab her. I went back into the auditorium or something. She's still talking, and she would ignore me. I'd say, Lorraine, it's getting late. We got to go. She would ignore me. She wouldn't even look over at me. She'd keep talking to the person. And then when she got in the car, Ed would go, what did that guy want? You know, what are you talking to for so long? She goes, he had a problem, Ed. It's serious. She goes, I wanted to satisfy, what his concerns were, which is the opposite of what Ed and I were feeling at the time. We wanted to just go eat a hamburger, but she didn't care what time it was. One time we met her for lunch on a Saturday at about 12:30, Judy and me. And Lorraine said, I'm a little tired today. Oh, yeah, Ma? And Judy said, Mom, what's the matter? She goes, oh, I got a call from a woman. Boy, she was really upset. Yeah, well, what do you mean you got a call from her? What time did she call? Oh, she called me about 3 in the morning. I go, and you said, why don't you let it go to the answer machine? Oh, no, I couldn't do that. And she goes, I talked to her for a little while. How long did you talk to her, Mom? Oh, a little over an hour. She'd wake up out of a dead sleep, right? Think about that.
Yeah.
How many paranormal investigators would answer the phone at 2, 3, 4 in the morning while you're in a dead sleep and talk for an hour trying to
Not
help?
many.
She did all the time, because more than once she'd say that, I'm tired today because this lady had a bad problem. She started out with, she wouldn't say I'm tired all the time. She would say, oh, this was a bad problem, and she called me last night. And Judy would say, what time did she call you, Mom? Oh, 2:30 in the morning, 1:30, whatever it was, late, when she was in a dead, can you imagine that? And answering the phone, she would have to get up and answer the phone because it wasn't in the bedroom, and talk to the person for over an hour. That's dedication. That's caring. That's caring. So that's why I think there's nobody that can compare to them. I'm not even close. The teams out there today, they're not even close to the dedication that they had, because I used to go over to the house like in the daytime, and Lorraine would be like cleaning up the house. Where's Ed? Oh, he's down in his office off the museum. I walk in there, he's reading a book on the paranormal. Like, no matter what, this is after 40 years of doing it, he's still trying to learn. So that's how he loved doing it, because he loved helping people. He was intrigued and wanted to know answers. You never get all the answers, because he said to me one time, if anybody tells you they know all the answers to the paranormal, they're full of it.
Exactly.
I go, yeah, I probably. He goes, no, they are. They're full of it, because he goes, I've been doing this for 50 years and I don't have all the answers. He goes, we're not meant to know all the answers. That's the mystery of the universe. We'll know the answers when we die. We'll know why certain things occur and happen. But we don't know now. It's not meant to be that way. And he's right. Nobody has all the answers. So anybody says to you, I'm an expert on the paranormal, they may be an expert compared to someone who knows nothing, but they don't know everything about the paranormal. Nobody does.
I know, I agree.
I'm still learning. You're still learning. Everybody's learning. So Ed used to kick people out of the house. He sometimes he would let young people come to learn. They'd hang on to him like a lecture. Okay, well, you want to come to? I got a simple haunting. You want to come? And a couple times he did that. And the young person, like say 18, 19, 20 years old, would walk into the house and they'd start giving orders to the family. They'd start saying, you got a devil in this house. One time they said that, you got a devil, you got to sing. And turn to the person and says, you get the heck out of here and stay out. Never. The person go over the investigation at 18, 20 years old and saying that there's a devil in the house when they don't know anything yet. And they're just guessing. They're just making stuff up. They're scaring the family. You can't do stuff like that. So and that's it to me. I'm not going to have anybody come unless I train them. That's what he did.
Good. Wow.
Yeah.
And I know that Judy, before we go, I don't want to keep you longer. So I know Judy makes jewelry out
Lorraine's costume jewelry.
And all money goes to the
Animal rescues and animal charity. So what she does, and you got the idea, and Lorraine agreed about helping animals, because Lorraine and Ed and Judy and me are big animal lovers, but Judy especially, not me as much as her, but I like them. Ed Lorraine loved animals. Real quick, Ed had a pet fox one time. He
Oh, wow.
a wild fox. Now you know what a fox is,
Okay.
right? And he called it Red because it was a red fox. Red fox. So he had a fox, and one time this was before cell phones and all that. This is when you had to dial up. And he says, Lorraine, I'm going to the drugstore. I'll be back in about an hour. I'm going to take Red with me. So he put Red in the car, and he goes to the pharmacy. Hour and a half go by, nothing happened. There's no Ed. Ed doesn't come home. Finally, the phone rings. Lorraine picks up the phone. Lorraine, you got to meet me at the pharmacy right away. She got nervous. What's the matter, Ed? He goes, that damn fox won't let me back in the car. The fox is snapping at him inside the car, like at the door. So Lorraine had to go drive her car and like talk to Red at the passenger side while Ed jumped into the driver's side. But Ed one time was driving. He loved animals. And Ed one time was driving down the road with Lorraine. He sees an old farmhouse with a farmer on the porch and a dog, a collie, in mud with a short leash, laying this big mud pack. Ed stops the car, walks up to the guy, unhitches the leash off the pole, and says, "This your dog?" "Yes, it is. I'm taking your dog."
Wow.
The guy says, "Okay, all right." Because Ed didn't believe that cruelty. He leaving a mud pack like that. So, and one time, a guy gave Ed a tarantula in Florida when they were down there. Lorraine, you know what? You're not gonna believe me.
I just don't like spiders.
The tarantula's name was Igor.
Okay.
And Ed kept it for a long time. She took the tarantula and put it in her bra.
Oh my God.
On the plane, and she was like this, talking to her like this, because she wanted to hide it from from the flight attendants. All the way from Florida to Connecticut was like 1,500-mile trip.
Wow.
With Igor in her blouse. So yeah, so Judy takes this costume jewelry. Lorraine had thousands of pieces of costume jewelry that people gave her and she bought. She would take 1 or 2 beads from Lorraine's and add them to other beads that Judy had, like onyx or garnets or tiger eye beads, nice beads. And she would make these bracelets with a tag on it that says Lorraine Warren. And it would say Lorraine Warren, that's all it said on it. And so a little silver tag, and she put on, and she sells them for like $40, $45. And every penny goes to animal rescues, charities, and she helped these elephants that were in trouble, and I forget what she helped horses. She helps she goes pets for vets for veterans who have pets to help them through psychological problems, police dogs to buy vests and things like that, police vests, and just animal charities in general. A lot of them. I mean, tons of them. And she's probably sent $50,000 to people, to animal rescues by that. Even like when she buys the cord and she buys the little filler things, she doesn't deduct that. That's out of our money. And then so she gets $45. She takes 45, puts in the bank, and it adds up to like 500. And then she'll send a check. So that's what she does in honor of her mom and dad, especially Lorraine, because Lorraine is using her jewelry. She's using Lorraine's jewelry. And so people have been nice about it and buying a lot of it. So that's what she does. And we're going to keep doing it. And our Paracon, which we're having on October 28th at Mohegan Sun Casino. I know nobody from Greece is probably going to make it, but Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut, Judy's going to sell the bracelets there too. Last time she brought 165 bracelets.
Wow.
She sold them all in 2 hours. 2.5 hours, she sold them all. So
yeah, I've got 2. Judy sent me 2. I've got 2 at home,
Yep.
I've got 2 bracelets. I'm not wearing them at the moment, but I've got 2 bracelets, and yep, exactly like that. But mine are green, and no, I don't have the one with the cross. And actually, I've got in my hands, in my possession, came 2 of Lorraine's relics of a cross, and the Mother Mary and Judy said,
nice.
please keep them. Yeah,
Yeah, I know she did. That's very nice.
that's
Keep those.
like
People-
the energy is just
People love that stuff, especially
Yep.
we had a lot of medals too, because people gave her a lot of medals, and priests gave her medals, and she had all those things that you have to blessed, because she got blessed. Lorraine was big on getting things blessed by a priest, so that's good too, you know. So I'm happy that you guys in Greece are interested in the paranormal and watch 28 Days Haunted.
Yes, we did. And we've got a lot of investigators out here, but they're just sort of the new, they're just sort of going out there, but sometimes they do it in the wrong way and, provoking. And that's something I tell not to do. You don't go in a place and you start provoking. You respect whatever's in there first.
Just so they know, Ed never provoked.
Exactly.
Ed used religious provocation, but not provoke. In other words, when I say that, I mean, he would say, in the name of Jesus Christ and God, reveal your identity.
Exactly.
That was his provoking. His provoking was knowing their identity. He wouldn't say, do something to me, or
go
ahead, move something for me if you're that powerful. He wouldn't do that. Or challenge them. You can't challenge the demonic.
Exactly.
He would say, in the name of Jesus Christ and the blood of Christ, I command you to reveal your identity now. And just to find out who he's dealing with. Or religious resistance, where if he felt like something was coming at him, he'd say, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave and go back to where you came from. In the name of Jesus Christ, go back to where you came from. That's as far as he would go. Challenging is very bad, so don't challenge. Also protect yourself. Protect yourself through the white light of protection, as you know.
I do,
And ask God to protect you. And you're protected. And you're
I noticed that. I noticed that in a lot of teams, not just in Greece, but in America too, Tony. A lot of teams do the provoking. And it happened to be an investigation just at the Marine House where they were provoking and I was going, guys, stop provoking. I'm not feeling well. I'm going to get sick. And my whole body started trembling. And I'm like, they are coming. Stop doing this. And you could hear them in EVP saying, get out. And I'm like, we need to go.
Yeah, you know what? They want to come and you tell them who are you that's powerful than you. You don't tell them what to do. So when you say, go ahead, come to me, do something to me, it doesn't have to come now. It can come in 6 months.
Yeah.
It can come in 8 months, and it can come in any form it wants. You could have a bad car accident. Your aunt, your uncle, your family, something can happen to them. You'll never attribute it 6 months later. Be careful what you wish for and what you ask for. That's very, very bad. So
I started investigation. I walked out of the building. I went, I'm done.
Good for you.
You want to stay with provoking? That's fine. I'm out.
Good for you. Where in Greece are you located? What city? Athens?
Yep.
Wow. That's the capital, isn't it? Isn't that the big city? Now, where is Cyprus compared to where you are? Cyprus.
Cyprus is really down towards very closer to Turkey, and is it Libya? Lebanon, around really close.
What's your favorite Greek dish?
Moussaka.
Yeah. In Greece, I really appreciate you listening to our conversation. And Catherine is a wonderful person. She's very smart and very empathic, and she's very genuine. And she's going to send me a good recipe for, how do you say it?
Spordaglia, the garlic dip.
She's going to send me that, and I love that stuff. And I hope you guys watch 28 Days Haunted, and I'm glad for the ones who did. And we may have a season 2. Stay tuned.
Well, I hope you all liked that. First, I want to make sure I thank Catherine for sharing with us and Tony as well. So what's everybody think? 28 Days Haunted 2. I know earlier in the comments we saw talk Edinburgh, Villisca. Wouldn't that be great? Get it right here in Iowa. I'm thinking it would be great. Yeah, Kathy, it was pretty cool, wasn't it? I loved how at the beginning, how he was talking about when he met Ed and Lorraine, and how it was just so fascinating for him to go into a room with Ed, and he was wanting to come around to listen to Ed. I love it. Does anybody have any questions or other thoughts about what we were watching? Let's see here. I think I just froze. No, there we go. I'm back. So yeah, it would be great to see another season of 28 Days Haunted. Bring it, like he said, to another location. I know one thing we also want to mention. All Out Paranormal was on the cover of American Paranormal magazine. So you can also check that out. That's right up on our website. You can get the link to that, skydoorentertainment.org. So you'll be able to read a little bit about our team on our website. Yeah, Kathy, it is cool hearing from people like that. Let me read. Why don't we go ahead? We got some promos for some shows that are coming up. Why don't we go ahead and if Dave can roll some of them for us, that would be great. got a great lineup of shows. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe so you get the notifications when our shows do go live. On Facebook, make sure you like and follow so you get the notifications. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in with us tonight and watching. And we can't wait to see you next week, 7 Central.